For over a decade, the Brown family portrayed a polished image of unity, an unconventional household bound by faith and shared purpose. But as time wore on, cracks emerged behind the carefully edited smiles and scripted interviews. The harmony they once promised was unraveling, and now the fallout was impossible to ignore. In Flagstaff, a home that once brimmed with celebration and children's laughter had grown cold. Robyn and Kody's relationship, once viewed as the centerpiece of the family, had become a source of tension and emotional distance. Kody, once confident and charismatic, now seemed exhausted, worn down by years of emotional strain. His once golden curls were now streaked with gray, and his eyes held a bitterness he no longer bothered to hide. Robyn, sensing the shift, clung tighter. The beautiful home, the curated displays of family photos, and the sense of being chosen offered her comfort. But something was slipping. Kody no longer defended her unconditionally. On one tense night, he looked at her and quietly said the words she never thought she'd hear. "You're 1 foot out the door, Robyn." There was no shouting, just the finality of a man whose belief system had collapsed under its own weight. Robyn sat stunned. For years, she had been the one whose opinions mattered most, the one with a new house, the one who had a say in everything. But Kody was changing, and so was the narrative. Elsewhere in Flagstaff, Mary and Janelle were beginning to compare notes. Their lives, marked by downsizing, tight budgets, and emotional neglect, stood in sharp contrast to what Robyn and Kody enjoyed. As they revisited years of shared finances, unsettling patterns emerged. Over $300,000 had been funneled from shared resources into one household, used for mortgage payments, private schooling, online purchases, and clothing allowances. Mary struggled to keep her small inn afloat. Janelle was falling behind on basic bills. It wasn't just about the money. It was the betrayal. Years of sacrifice and emotional investment exchanged for the illusion of belonging. They had both remained silent for too long. Now they were ready to speak. During a taped special hosted by a nationally respected talk show journalist, Mary and Janelle arrived with more than stories. They came with receipts. Financial records, transfers, text messages. The truth, long buried, was about to be exposed. The shock came when Kody, daughter of Christine, appeared on screen with a soft but uneasy smile. She'd agreed to speak, not realizing the depth of what Mary and Janelle were about to reveal. Among the revelations, Robyn had quietly compensated Kody to publish favorable social media posts, carefully crafted to depict Christine in a negative light while subtly uplifting Robyn. These posts had swayed public opinion and shifted fan loyalty over time. It was a campaign of influence, cloaked in affection. The impact was enormous. Christine, watching from her Utah home, sat beside her daughter truly as the story unfolded. Her face remained composed, but her eyes dimmed. This wasn't just betrayal, it was betrayal by her own child. For attention, belonging, a few small checks. "White," she whispered. It was the only word she could find. Meanwhile, Kody sat in an empty apartment, surrounded by packed boxes and fading photos of better days. The fallout had reached him, too. Following a heated dispute, Robyn had left to stay with relatives. Christine no longer took his calls. His sons had cut him off. And now Mary and Janelle were demanding a formal financial audit. He was, for the first time in years, utterly alone. Photographs of joyful birthdays, shared meals, and cradled newborns lined the walls. He reached out and gently touched one, as if trying to feel something from a time that had passed him by. But all he felt was the cold truth. He had lost every woman who had once loved him. And perhaps he had never truly deserved them. As snow began to fall outside, Blanketing the Flagstaff porch in silence, the symbolic ending of the Brown family's legacy was written in real time. The land that divided them, the once promising dream of Coyote Pass, a large property bought by the Browns in 2018 to build 4 connected homes, had become a battleground. The original plan was to create a shared but independent space for each wife. But the dream dissolved amid crumbling relationships. Ownership disputes flared. Christine had long since relinquished her share, returning to Utah. In a symbolic gesture, she sold her portion of the land to Kody for $10, a parting gift that underscored how little she wanted to remain tied to the past. Meanwhile, Mary announced her departure as well, moving toward a fresh start in Utah. Her concerns were more practical. She feared losing her share of the property if the land was sold or foreclosed on. With the Browns behind on payments, a bank seizure was a real possibility. Reports indicated that Kody and Janelle had paid off over $300,000 in debt related to the property. Another $140,000 related to Robyn's share was also paid off. This raised eyebrows. Why were Kody and Robyn consolidating so much control while others struggled? New legal filings suggested Kody had redistributed the property. He and Robyn now held 50%, while Mary and Janelle shared the remaining half. In response, Janelle reportedly retained legal counsel to defend her share. Mary's quiet rebirth. Back in Utah, Mary was rebuilding. She quietly ended things with Kody in early 2023 after years of emotional distance. After moving into her own space and focusing on her business, she began to heal. Her companion now, a rescue dog named Zona. Mary shared the story online. The way she found Zona unexpectedly, how she couldn't stop thinking about her, and how adopting her felt like destiny. "She makes me happy," Mary wrote. "We were meant to find each other." Mary's fans noticed a visible transformation. At the Global Beauty Awards, she stunned in a black outfit that showed off her continued weight loss and radiant confidence. Gone was the woman overshadowed by heartbreak. Mary was now glowing, strong, and free. She had also begun dating again, encouraged by the example Christine had set when she married David Woolley. While a brief romance with a man named Amos didn't last, Mary wasn't discouraged. She had hope again, and for now, that was enough. Janelle's path forward. Janelle, too, had moved on. While she once believed in the family's vision, she had since relocated from Arizona and was focusing on the positives in her life. She maintained her independence, stayed involved in health and wellness initiatives, and avoided the chaos that had consumed the family. Her choice, like Mary's and Christine's, symbolized a new beginning. One man, no kingdom. Kody, once the architect of a vast and ambitious household, now found himself alone. The laughter had faded. The land was in dispute. The women had gone their own way, and the very foundation of his dream had crumbled beneath his feet. There would be no reunion, no neatly tied resolution. Only the echo of a legacy unraveling in real time, and the cold Flagstaff snow falling silently outside. It was supposed to be a quiet taping. No drama, just a polite reunion special to cap another turbulent season of Sister Wives. The camera crews adjusted their lighting, the producer gave a thumbs up from behind the monitor, and the studio air was thick with expectation. Tamron Hall, elegant as ever, offered her signature warm smile, but even she didn't know what was about to unfold. Mary and Janelle sat side by side on the studio couch, dressed in calm neutrals, their expressions unreadable. On another couch sat Mykelti Pedron, Christine's daughter, her eyes flickering with nerves. Robyn was running late. Kody, uncharacteristically quiet, sat across the room, arms folded. He looked older, hair streaked with gray, his trademark bravado replaced by fatigue. The first 20 minutes were benign. Memories, updates, family milestones. Then Tamron asked a seemingly innocent question. Let's talk about trust. Has anyone felt betrayed? Miri exhaled slowly. Janelle glanced at her, nodded. And then the storm broke. Yes, Miri said. But this time, it didn't come from who you'd expect. Janelle pulled a folder from the bag at her feet and laid it across her lap. She opened it and began reading. For the past 3 years, she began, funds from the family trust were withdrawn under the guise of household and childcare expenses. Over $300,000 was moved, and it disproportionately benefited one household. The camera panned to Kody. He blinked. Robyn still hadn't arrived. Janelle continued. That money went toward private school tuition, shopping, vacations, and Amazon purchases for Robyn's household. Meanwhile, Miri was fighting to keep her inn open, and I had to shut off utilities last winter. Tamron leaned forward, stunned. How did you find this out? Miri's voice was steely. We started pulling old financial documents. At first, it was just to understand why our accounts were so dry. Then we saw the pattern. Janelle passed the folder to Tamron, who skimmed through it with wide eyes. But that wasn't the end. Miri shifted forward. It wasn't just money. There was a smear campaign. Online posts, social media narratives, aimed at Christine. Implying she was cold, unstable, selfish. It worked. For a while, the fans turned on her. Gasps echoed around the studio. That content, Janelle said, was traced back to Mike Kelty. Her posts, her words, her timing. Mike Kelty's mouth fell open. That's not fair. You were paid, Miri said, calm but firm. Robyn funneled you the money through private transfers. You edited those posts to cast Christine as the villain. You exploited your own mother's exit from this family. Tamron looked to Mike Kelty. Is this true? Mike Kelty's face was flushed. Robyn told me Christine was destroying the family. She said if I didn't help her get the truth out, people would only see one side. She gave me money when Tony lost his job. She said I was the only one who still cared about the Brown legacy. She used you, Janelle said gently, but you still helped her. You still hurt your mom. A heavy silence followed. And then, as if summoned by drama itself, Robyn burst through the studio doors. Her eyes widened at the scene. What's going on? Tamron raised her eyebrows. We were just discussing financial discrepancies and the social media campaign you allegedly sponsored. Robyn's voice cracked. That's a lie. I never. Kody stood. For the first time in a long while, he looked alive. Don't, he said, pointing at her. Don't lie to me again. Robyn froze. Her hands trembled. Kody, you were 1 foot out the door the whole time, he said coldly. You made a fool out of me. You played the victim while bleeding the rest of the family dry. You used Mike Kelty. You turned the fans against Christine. You sat on your throne in that Flagstaff castle while the rest of them barely got by. I was trying to save what we had. Robyn cried. There's nothing to save, he snapped. You want the house. Take it. You want your money. Good luck holding on to it after this airs. But you're out. I'm done. He turned to the camera crew. Let it roll. Let the world see. I have nothing left to protect. Robyn's face crumpled. Mike Kelty looked down, tearfully shaking her head. Tamron, stunned but professional, pivoted. Mary, Janelle, what now? Miri reached into her purse and pulled out a USB drive. We have it all here, she said. Transaction histories, screenshots, Venmo transfers, even voice memos. We're taking this to court. Janelle added, and we're freezing the family trust. All accounts are locked until a full audit is done. Tamron looked around at the carnage, one wife exposed, another exiled, a patriarch unraveling, and two women rising from the ashes. Later that night, the clip aired across the country. Twitter ignited. Reddit exploded. Fans who had doubted Christine sent apologies. Robyn's fan page was deactivated within an hour. Kody issued a public statement, apologizing to her mother and pledging to make amends. Christine, watching from her Utah living room, didn't cry. She simply turned off the TV and went to bed early. The next morning, the fallout was real. Kody, alone in a rented condo, finally answered Janelle's audit request. He released all financial access to the original three wives, Mary, Janelle, and Christine. Weeks later, the court awarded partial restitution. Janelle and Mary reclaimed over $200,000 in family funds, with plans to open a co-owned wellness center in Sedona. They called it OG3. It offered therapy, life coaching, and financial literacy workshops for women leaving toxic relationships. In the grand opening ribbon-cutting ceremony, Mary stood beside Janelle, the sun warming her face. "No more silence," she said. "No more crumbs." From a distance, Christine arrived with Truly in tow. She hugged them both. Together, they had reclaimed not just their money, but their legacy. As for Kody, he rarely appeared in public again. Robyn moved to Utah with her children, quietly selling the Flagstaff house. Kody began counseling and worked toward rebuilding her relationship with her mother, visiting every month with her kids and a sheepish smile. The chapter had closed. The Brown family as it was had ended. But the women who once were silenced, they were just beginning.